Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I don't really have much to do for this one except for the fact that I've got 6 albums instead of the usual 5. Spoiler alert, the next 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks of Music of the Week for 2022 will also be me covering 6 albums, so I say that we get a fucking move on. We begin in Gdansk, Poland for Behemoth and their 12th album, Opus Contra Naturam. I've heard of Behemoth before, I am familiar sort of with their black and death metal style. I've heard a couple of their songs before. This is my first full album, and I thought it was a really good gateway for me, and considering the band's been around for 31 years, literally a year longer than I've been on this earth, it's kind of weird to think that, but yeah, B+, really like the layeredness, the layering of the instrumental work. The guitar work is especially great. I like the production as well. The performances are great, with Nurgle being a fantastic vocalist and a really good guitarist. What does duck a few points for me personally is that it's the typical black metal stuff about occultism and Satan and things like that, and I'm doing a pretty good Danhausen impression. Very good, very evil, and it's alright in that regard, but like, yeah, everything else is great. I like the structuring, I like how it keeps you guessing as it goes along. It is very much black and death metal pacing, but it's really good black and death metal pacing, so if you like good black and death metal from a band who's really good at it and has been around a long time doing it, give this one a spin. It might be up your alley. Next we go to San Marcos, Texas for 2 albums by the same band, which is a rarity. I think this might be a first time ever in Music of the Week history. We have Brockhampton with their last 2 albums ever, The Family and TM. So it was initially just going to be The Family, and I think it was 2 weeks ago that they announced it, and that was going to be their last album. But then literally a day after, or rather on the day that it came out, there was like some giveaway spoilers thing that TM would actually be their last album, and I'm giving both of them a B+. I thought they were really good modern day sort of pop rap sort of albums. Again, they're the first albums I've listened to by Brockhampton, and it's a shame that they're both the last albums that Brockhampton will make possibly ever. They were only around for 12 years as well, but I like a lot of their lyrical content. For example, all the band members are either gay, non-white, black, or all of those, and I like how they give a realistic outlook on that kind of thing. Especially like the main sort of band leader, Kevin Abstract, he might be my favourite member of the group. I love his flow. I like how all the band gets into the production as well. They all do a really, really great job with it. I like the structuring for the most part. I prefer the structuring on TM because The Family has more songs but it's a bit shorter by a couple of minutes, and it feels like the band do sort of scramble at times, but really solid sample work. Again, the performance is great. I love the lyrical themes for both albums, relating about having to deal with homophobia and dealing with racism as well. And again, this is shit that the band's probably actually gone through, especially considering that they're from Texas. So yeah, kind of a fresh, topical take in a way, depending on how far back in 2022 you want to go. But really love both these albums. They're not going to be on my favourites of the year list, and neither is Behemoth's album, but I did quite like Brockhampton stuff, and considering it's my first taste of them, and I've wanted to listen to them for a while since I heard about Ginger in 2019, but never got around to listening to it, this was a very pleasant surprise. I thought it's a good way to cap off their career, I think, even though I'd never listened to it before these, so please forgive me. Next we go to Salt Lake City, Utah for Chelsea Grin and their 6th album, Surfer in Hell. Now, I was initially not going to do this one, and I'll get to the reason why now. So it's the first part of a double album. Their next one is going to be called Surfer in Heaven, and that's not coming out until next March. And I find that personally very frustrating, but I can't give this album anything less than B-, because while I am a bit miffed that it feels like a unfinished video game and Surfer in Heaven will be the DLC you need to buy, I hate that mentality. I don't mind double albums, but I like it when double albums actually come out within a reasonable time and not stretched over a 5-month period that stretches literally into the following year. That does annoy me more than it should, but I liked it. I thought it was some pretty solid deathcore stuff. I like that there's sort of a concept behind it as well, but obviously like Hell and Heaven, sort of like an afterlife and death thing. I really like how closely tied. The performances are really good as well. Tom Barber is a really good vocalist, but I think my favourite was, yeah, guitarist Stephen Ruteshauser. I had to look it up because I knew he had a bit of a difficult to pronounce surname. I hope I said it correctly just then. The structuring, again, it's short. It's only 26 minutes and 40 seconds, so it's really not going to take up a lot of your time. but it's still pretty good despite that. I don't mind the production either. I think it's handled quite well. I just don't like the fact that it obviously feels like they're saving their best stuff for the next one. Why can't double albums do good stuff? I put that in a really dumb way, but you know what I mean. Still, maybe give this one a spin. For my first Chelsea Grin album, and for a guy who's getting more into deathcore as the years go by. Sorry, deathcore, not deathclaw. That's from Fallout, I think? I don't know. For a guy getting more into deathcore as the years go by, I didn't think this was that bad. I'm just unreasonably angry that we're not going to get more until next March, so there. Next we go to Melbourne, Australia for the Smith Street Band and their 6th album, Life After Football. Now, much like Chelsea Grin and Behemoth and Brockhampton, this was a band I'd heard about before, actually. I'd never gotten around to listening to them. And I regret that decision because this one has the highest grade of this entire episode. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. I'm giving this album an A. I loved so many elements to it. I will get my more favourite parts out of the way first. I love how dense and rich the instrumental work is. Very well combining the genres of like the folk punk and indie punk and pub rock styles. It's got very good storytelling, and in some ways it reminded me a little bit of Spanish love songs, even though the Smith Street Band have been around for a bit longer than Spanish love songs have. I don't know what happened to my voice, I have. But yeah, I really liked that element. I like the lyricism as well of just getting old and trying not to forget your youth and things like that. I like how that's handled as well. The performances are great. I love lead vocalist Will Wagner. I think he's so good at telling stories, so emotive. I think the production's really solid as well. I think it's nicely handled and very organic feeling. The structuring is a tiny bit weird to me because some of the songs feel weirdly short at times, but they do have the more pub rocky energy, and I do like those elements as well. But I preferred some of the longer songs on the album, and I think if they took some of the shorter ones and put them together into like their own individual things, I don't know, maybe it could have been a little bit better that way, but it still flows really well, and the songs still tell a really good story, even if there isn't actually supposed to be a concept behind them. Just noticed how weird my hair is on that side. There we go, that'll fix the mistake. Yeah. But yeah, go and listen to this one. This is my style of punk rock, sort of like the older sounding grouchy stuff, even though these guys have only been around since 2010. They're not that old. I mean, the lead singer's only 32, so yeah, they're not old. But, you know, that's sort of like grouchy, sort of hot water music-y style. So yeah, go listen to it if you're up for that style of punk. And finally, we go to Washington, D.C. for Soulside and their 4th album, A Brief Moment in the Sun. So, this was a band I'd never heard of before. I think I, stumbled across one of their songs via accident in an advert. And I thought this was a very new band, especially considering the style. But then I looked deeper into it. They've been around technically since 1985, but they've gone through a lot of breakups. And this is their first album in 33 years. That is a huge ass gap. Not counting the EP they did back in 2020, and I do not count EPs, people know this. I'm still giving this one a B- though. I thought it was some really good old-style hardcore, and, for example, my favourite part about it is actually the production. It's very dense and thick, but it was on Discord Records, owned by Ian McKay of Fugazi, and, as people know, I grew to like Fugazi when I was covering them for Backtracking last year. Yeah, this is really good old-style hardcore, but brought into the modern day, without a lot of the cheap nostalgia stuff, which I do appreciate. I liked a lot of the instrumental work. The bass and guitar work especially is really good too. I like how thick the drumming is. The performances are still great. Lead singer, whose name is Bobby Sullivan, he's really good. I like guitarist Scott McLeod as well. Yeah, the production's pretty decent. The structuring, again, sort of has the Smith Street Band problem of maybe a couple of songs are a bit too short and shouldn't have really been that short, but they still work out really well. My main issue is with the lyrics because I couldn't find much to decipher, and they're very difficult to pick apart when you're actually listening to what Bobby Sullivan is saying. I don't know what exactly they were about. I'm gonna guess some stuff about politics, maybe. I'm not really sure, but I thought it was still a pretty solidly put together album for a band that's, you know, this is their first release, like first full length in 33 years, and it still sounds pretty good for the most part, so give it a shot if you want to. And that will about do it. I may as well get through this now before I completely forget like a buffoon. So, least favourite to most favourite, I would have to go with Chelsea Grin, Suffer in Hell, Soulside's Brief Moment in the Sun, Behemoth's Opus Contra Naturam. Both Brockhampton albums are sort of tied, but I would personally place TM above The Family, so it would be The Family and then TM. And number one, obviously, the Smith Street Band with Life After Football. It's a really good album. Go and listen to it. Give all of these a spin. They're all pretty good in their own way. None of them are perfect by any stretch, but they're all pretty awesome, and even if some do have some detracting points, there's good stuff on them that outweighs the bad by quite a lot. So, yeah, give them all a go. Next thing I'll see you for will not be a stream tomorrow night because I'm stopping Let's Playing until January, but possibly a Friday night either on Sunday or Monday, depending on if there's one available. Because I know there's a card this weekend, I checked, so yeah, there is a card this weekend. So, yeah, that'll probably be the next thing I see you for, and then the next thing I can guarantee will be the go-home show for PBW vs ABW 4, Deck the Brawls, which will be next Friday. Bitch, I don't know why I threw that in there, but I'll see you all for that. As always, thank you for watching, you're awesome. Bye-bye.